This is an SM Media production.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the Rangers Assessment right here on SM Media. I'm Scott McKay. It's a pleasure as always to be your host, and it's a Scott special this week. We've got three Scots, so please bear with us as we introduce the names of the people, and you'll have seen them on before. They're regular contributors to the show, but we've all got the same first name, so we're going to have to divvy out how we're going to name them. So we're going to go with Scott Young up the top. Scott, it's a pleasure, mate. Thank you for coming on. We're going to just call you Scott for the time being.
Yeah, no, cheers for having us on. It's been a while, I think I've been on this.
Yeah, it's been a while
I'm,
since you've been.
I'm looking forward to talking about it. I think my last time was Clemont's first game, the Hibs game.
Yeah, probably was.
I've been on it since then.
Probably was.
So it's been a while. A lot's changed.
A lot has changed, yeah, we'll get into it. And it's a pleasure to welcome Scott McKay, who's going by the name of Scotty for this episode.
Aye, Scott, cheers for having us on again, mate. Not a good performance on Saturday, professional, job done. All to talk about though.
There is a lot to talk about, and I think a lot of it will be down to kind of what we're expecting between now and the end of January. Scott Young, in terms of the performance on Saturday, performances under Clement, I think Saturday was a perfect example, and it's probably good that you're on because you were here for Clement's first game. The difference in terms of the professionalism, in terms of results and performances in games like Saturdays, is so drastically different.
Yeah, definitely. I saw a lot. There was a lot of complaints on Twitter about the game, about the performance. But how many times in 55 did we scrape a 1-0 win? Or McGregor to put 2-3 great saves. Even under Walter. Walter's games were never always pretty. It was always a scrape 1-0, 2-1. But it just shows the mentality change more than anything. Like we saw Suter jumping in front of challenge, jumping his body in front of anything. And yeah, just it was definitely a mentality change to hold on and grind out a 1-0, which if we're gonna win a league, we need to do at some point.
Scott, in terms of the Hibs game, I thought there was a real positive feel after the Hibs game in terms of the performance. I thought obviously like Yilmaz getting a goal, Cantwell, who I thought scored a really good goal. Desser's goal was taken really well. Going into Saturday, I thought there was a lot of positivity because of that result.
Aye, definitely. But like Scott Young says, the important thing was just getting 3 points and back to Glasgow because St Mirren gave us a good game. I don't think Rangers were at their best, don't get me wrong, but I think just looking at it in the grand scheme of things, like you're talking about the mentality shift, it's night and day. If we play that game under Michael Beale on Saturday, we drop points. Sums it up easy enough for me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's also as well. I think the goalkeeper. I thought the goalkeeper had, when he had to make saves, he did. In terms of the team, Scott, I thought it was a bit drastic in terms of the selection. Obviously, Suter moved to left centre back. Goldson came back in. Sterling, who I don't really know what the plan was in terms of where he was meant to play. Wright came in for a start. Desser started up front. I thought when I saw this team, I'm like, there's a bit too many changes here, but it worked.
Yeah, I agree. I wasn't with in terms of like I wasn't convinced with the midfield of Raskin. I thought when I first saw it before 3-3, with Raskin, Lundstrom, and Sterling as your three, very workman-like, not a lot of creativity in there. But yeah, Sterling off left just didn't work with me, and I think it took him too long to change it. When Lawrence came on at half time, I thought you'd be seeing Lawrence out on the left and then going back to that 4-3-3, which I thought it was going to be. But no, he put Lawrence as a 10 and kept Sterling at wide. But it worked. Like there was a lot of, especially towards the end when we needed it to. Ryan Jack came on. I thought, I'm not Ryan Jack's biggest fan, I'm not Ryan Jack's biggest fan, but I thought he'd done a job when he came on. He did what he needed to do. And with Lundstrom and Raskin there, I thought they did. I thought Raskin had one of his poorer games, to be fair. But no, when you say about the teams, thought that Dessers came in and done what Dessers does, held the ball up all right, got his goal. I'm obviously the Dessers' biggest fan, but no, I happy to see him get his goal. And I thought overall it was not a bad performance, but it was very very workman a performance. I thought.
Scott, I think that's the Scotty. I think that's the big thing. I think that performance you mentioned, obviously under Beale, Rangers probably don't win that game. I think it's true, but I think it shows the manager's kind of direction, that the fact that he knew that this wouldn't be a vintage performance, but he was willing to put in kind of three holding midfielders. He shook it up a bit. Wright came in. I didn't think Wright was up to much at all. I thought in terms of the kind of the landscape of the side, I thought kind of everybody kind of had their job. I thought Lundstrom was very good. I think he's been good, brilliant under Clement. And it leads to the first goal. And Lundstrom, obviously, that ball was on. McFadden made the point of this as well. And we'll get into McFadden in a minute because I want to make a point and something he said. The ball was on, but I thought Dessers, just the way he was able to hold the line, it's something that he's been guilty of not doing in the past. And it's a goal that you want to see, and it's a goal that Dessers can do. And I think what we've seen with Dessers, obviously since he came in, has been a bit stop start, but he's finally beginning now to look like somebody who plays on confidence. But I thought it was probably his best game in terms of his all round performance on Saturday. I thought.
Aye, definitely. I've made my opinions perfectly clear in Cyriel Dessers, and I'm never going to change them. He's a bit part player for the season. He's obviously he's coming into his purple patch just now. A really, really good game on Saturday. When I seen his goal, I seen him kind of on his run through just before he knocks the ball back. He keep really looks as if he's leaning back a wee bit, as if he's maybe going to hit a shot. And when I only seen it in the action replay, that's when he takes the touch and touches it round. It's a good enough finish. I think the big man was pretty much starved a service in Saturday, to be honest with you. I think it was one of them games we were really, really stifled in the middle of the park. There wasn't much room. The conditions weren't great. The wind was for us in the first half and against us in the second half. Conditions weren't good. Pitch was playing up. Thought Raskin was mediocre at best. Nico Raskin isn't producing the goods for me in a Rangers jersey just now. Cifuentes is obviously going out, and maybe get into that later on, but I'm interested to see what Diamandi is going to be bringing into the team when he comes in to start, because I think he's going to play kind of that Kamara role. I noticed Sterling was playing left wing on Saturday for the majority of the first half, and that kind of surprised me. One thing about the game I really want to touch upon though is what I noticed in the second half is Steve Robinson made a change and he brought on, I don't know what the boy's name is for St Mirren, but 6 foot plus, and he parked him right on Ridvan. And his next thing, there's a diagonal ball played across the park, and Ridvan doesn't win the header, but next minute Clement's telling Borna Barisic to get stripped, and he makes a sub right away. That's just good management of the game. That's a manager helping your team manage a game and nullifying a threat. So I think it was pretty much positive all round. Obviously, there's a lot of things Clement will be able to take away that he can work on, but it's, as I say, it's job done, and that's all we need just now. Usually after winter breaks, Rangers don't get off to the best start, and that's when their seasons have collapsed in recent years after a winter break. Clement seems to have fixed that.
Scott Young, I want to touch on Raskin and Cantwell in particular. Now, I think they're two very different kind of circumstances. I think Cantwell, as we all know, in recent, probably since the start of the season, has struggled to really get a foothold in terms of what he did at the start of when he came in last season. He really looked as if he was going to be that kind of talisman that Rangers needed. He hasn't hit those heights, but you see he's capable of goals against Hibs. I thought he was good against Hibs in terms of the goal he scored, but where we're at just now with Cantwell is I think the manager's got those doubts, and I think that is a concern for me because I thought Lawrence when he came on was far more positive.
Yeah, I think it was that he was Beale's main man. Beale wanted because he was the main. But since Clement came in, he's very much become another player, and I don't know if Cantwell's suited to that role. So I know one of Farke's main players. But yeah, and now he's back. Now he's got a manager like Clement who just wants him to do a role, make sure he sticks to. I don't know if Cantwell's suited to that, and maybe a Tom Lawrence is a lot more suited to that kind of role.
Scott, you mentioned obviously with Raskin and Jack coming in. The problem that I think we've got with that is that when Raskin, I think when he's on his game, does offer something that very few midfielders do. But with Diamandi coming in, I can see maybe Diamandi kind of playing that kind of link of between like maybe a kind of, I know John Walker brought this up in a video I saw the other day. It could be a link between Kamara and Aribo in terms of he's got both parts in his game. I think that's something we could see the likes of kind of Diamandi come in. I just think Raskin at the moment just is maybe unfit. Do you know what I mean? He's rushed back. I thought he, against, I know it was Dumbarton, but I thought he was getting on the ball very, very, very well. I just think the last couple of games just haven't suited him. But he needs to fight up his problems because Lundstrom, for me, Lundstrom has to start. Lundstrom's kicked on under Clement. Diamandi's going to come in. Lawrence, you've got Jack there. Sterling obviously is playing his part. That midfield position's now getting quite, do you know what I mean? It's becoming competitive for places. If you're not performing, Clement will not play you. And that's what I want to see. I don't want players playing because they've been good for a while and then they've had bad form. If Raskin's no hitting the heights, Raskin will be playing.
100%, 100%. I've yet to see. I've seen flashes of what Nico Raskin can bring to Rangers midfield. Like, was it the second half away to Servette? He came out and he looked an absolute steal. It was great. He grabbed the game by scruffy neck. I need to see more of that for me to be convinced by Nico Raskin. Obviously, Clement sees certain things in the training pitch. Clement's a professional. Let's be honest. He knows why he's playing, but I don't know. I'm not seeing enough just now. I know what you're saying about him coming back for injury and things like that, but I'm talking about it in kind of overall and since Nico Raskin, he's been with us a year now, and I've kind of yet to see what he can offer. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where I'm struggling with Raskin just now. I don't even know what type of player he is. Like, it's quite difficult. So he's been used in different roles, but Clement seems to want him to be in the 8. But when Diamandi comes in and Clement only uses 2 central midfielders, where does Raskin go? Does he get into the 10 further ahead? In terms of Cantwell, if you don't mind me touching back on your point, I noticed Alex Pritchard was dropped by the Sunderland lineup on Saturday. I know it's a proper long shot here, but could you maybe see Cantwell moving on before the deadline on Thursday? Because like we say, he isn't Clement's guy. I don't really touch it, but I thought Lawrence was so much more positive when he came on at the weekend.
Well, no, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I think Beale has his certain kind of links with players and things like that. I think I think there's somebody there, Cantwell, who can deliver, but I think he's similar to Raskin. I think he needs to show it more. And I think the problem that Rangers have is, and we're seeing a lot more positivity in terms of movement and the certain profile that Rangers are going for. Rangers wouldn't be signing a Todd Cantwell now. If Rangers are going by the profile they're going for that we've seen in the past week, Todd Cantwell was a player who'd lost his way already since Coppins came in. I don't think Rangers are going down that route anymore, and I think it's a big change. I just think we need to see more. I think it's that simple. I think we kind of similar to Lawrence coming in. I think the problem Scott Young I've got with Lawrence is he's been here for a year and a half, never had an injury record at all, and now you can't keep him fit. So what does that say? And I do think Lawrence is a part to play. I do think Cantwell, what we saw, I think Cantwell deserves time because we saw in the 5 months last season he was involved in a lot. He was Rangers' best player, I thought, for the second half of last season. But he needs to be that again. And I think now there's a manager who's not going to take any crap. And if he's not playing, again, if he's not hitting the heights, we saw it, he'll hook him. Do you know what I mean? Hooked him against Limassol when things weren't going the right way. He'll do that again. And it's up to Cantwell to really kick on. And I thought we'd seen a wee spark but kind of after that. But there's times where he's just not doing enough for me. When you know he can.
He's a luxury player. That's that way. Saturday wasn't a game for luxury players. I don't think. It's more of a Tom Lawrence game than a Todd Campbell game on Saturday. But yeah, I can't see Campbell leaving before deadline day. I can see him maybe going to, if Michael Beale's still in a job, I can see him go to Sunderland in the summer, but I can't see him leaving now. Especially because I think Diamandi's been brought in. I think he's just been brought in as depth. Because if we're playing 2 games a week, we can't go to second half of the season with midfield being Lundstrom, Jack, Sterling, and Ryan Jack when he's fit, which is 4 games a season, 5 games a season. I think we need another body in the middle of the park, and I think that's what Diamandi brought in. And if we bring in, I think he can play as a 10 as well. And if we bring in a 10, lost 2 number 10s this window and brought in 1, that's doing the opposite of solving depth issues.
Scotty, one player I was quite surprised didn't come on was Fabio Silva. Now, I don't know if I didn't see anything to say that he was hurt or anything like that. I thought that was a game, and St Mirren deserve a lot of credit because they were trying to equalise and Rangers were kind of hanging on at the end up. But I thought we might have seen Silva with maybe 20, 30 minutes to go just to maybe Scott's right in terms of maybe it's not a game for luxury players, but you needed kind of something different. I always think you need a second goal in those games, but I was quite surprised we didn't see Silva at all.
See, what surprised me about Fabio Silva is his work rate. I don't think he is a luxury player. I think he's going to be an absolute asset. It's one of the things that caught me out in his performance was when he was playing that number 9 role. He was dropping deep. He wasn't scared to track back. Like Fabio Silva's effort midweek there showed up Todd Cantwell in the first half. For me, anyway. So back to St Mirren, I reckon Silva should have got maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. I don't see why come on didn't do it. Maybe it was just to get 90 minutes in Dessler's legs after he got his goal. I don't know. Because he seems to be favouring him through the forward. I don't know if that's important. Maybe getting into deadline day on Thursday, that any time we've seen Silva, he's been playing as a 9 instead of out in the left where he played for Anderlecht and PSV last season. I would have liked to have seen him come on, but I say it's the most important thing was the game management. It was professional. I don't think St Mirren caused too much threat to a goal. And in the second half, they did more spells of possession than what I was used to about Rangers. Just looked as if they managed to nullify the threat and just kind of, even with Goldson and Suter at the back, I thought that was a good game that centre-back pairing had together on Saturday. I thought it was probably their best game yet, to be honest.
Right, let's kind of look at the result in terms of where it's at just now. I mean, Scott, I think it's right in terms of the winter break nightmares that we've seen in the past with Rangers. That's a result. That's a game that you haven't seen very often, probably since 55, because Rangers haven't been comfortable. Rangers have made their own messes a lot of times, and that to me kind of rung true that there's a manager there who kind of knows how to adapt to these games. He knows how to change it when needed. At similar point with obviously Ridvan going off and Barisic coming on. I just thought that's a result that if Rangers are going to make an effort in this title race, that's a result that could be massive come the end of the season.
Yeah, there's always those games you look back on and think that that's a game that's won us a league. Like, I go back to 55, the Motherwell game, where we were 1-0 down with 15, 20 minutes to go and we win 3-1. I always go back to that game and think that's the game that won us a league. And this could be one we look back on in May, where if we are lifting 56 at the end of the season, this is a game we could look back on. You need, as I said at the start, you need to win games like this. Walter always won games like that. When he won 3 in a row in his last spell, even we'll go back to 9 in a row. Pretty sure there would have been games like this where we scraped at 1-0, a dodgy pitch, dodgy conditions. We're hanging on for dear life at the end, and we managed to come away with 3 points. These games you need to win. Football's not. You're not going to win every game 5-0. There's games you need to scrape. It's not about tactics. It's just about fight, and desire, and coming away with 3 points, which is what we've done at the weekend.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair enough. I think Scotty as well. in terms of Celtic winning 1-0, when I think it was a very similar kind of circumstance to Rangers. It was gritty. Celtic weren't at their best, but they'll look at it similar to Rangers on Saturday, that it's a game that will probably be important if there is a title race, if it goes on to be a tight affair between the two teams. Both sides won 1-0. It wasn't pretty, but they've looked at it as probably massive results.
I definitely just goes back to that mentality thing again, doesn't it? I don't think Celtic's 1-0 was as comfortable as ours. Kind of reading between the lines and what I seen on the text commentary, it seemed a wee bit closer than maybe our game was. I think Ross County had a decent few chances. And see, if you look at the difference between the mentality and the fans just now, Scott, there's Brendan Rodgers has come out with some controversial comments at the end of his game in his post-match interview, whereas we seem a lot more content just now. We're wasn't even a struggling 1-0 win, but with a tough 1-0 victory at a tough away venue. Celtic don't seem to be as stable as that, if stable's the right word. But it just seems to be a slightest wee thing is changing the feeling within a club just now. And that's what I think could potentially be massive in this title race going forward, as we are getting results and feeling positive about it. They're getting results and feeling a bit more negative. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, no, I think it's fair enough. I was kind of going to bring this up kind of later on as well, that I look, Rangers in the past kind of 5-6 years, with the exception of 55, did do things simple. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't going and winning 1-0. There was occasional games where you would get maybe an early goal, but there was Celtic. I think there's two different mindsets. I think Rangers are looking at being that side who are just going to get kind of 1-0 wins by hook or by crook, whereas Celtic want more. And I know that maybe sounds weird, but still, I mean, I think Rangers recruitment, and I know the players haven't kicked a ball yet, but I think Rangers recruitment so far in January has been really, really good in terms of the profile they're going for. And Celtic, I see a lot of frustration. Now, if you're asking me out the two sides who needs to do more business in January, Rangers 100%. But I'm seeing a lot more anger for the Celtic side, which I'm pretty baffled by, because I think Celtic, we see it. Celtic have a lot more quality in the final third. We saw it on the 30th of December. So for me, I just think right now, I think there's two very different mindsets. I think Rangers are looking to be the simple mindset. I think Celtic are looking for more than what maybe ideas of other stations are wrong term, but Celtic seem to be looking more at what can we do. Rangers are going to have Europe. I think I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think the advantage is in Celtic because Celtic don't have European football. Celtic can have more time to play with their squad, whereas Rangers are going to have a lot more competition. Rangers are going to be in Europe. I think Rangers will be wanting to go far in Europe again, which could be a detriment to a league challenge. But right now, I would say Celtic, the Celtic fans' anger is weird, and I think Rangers are kind of, for the first time in a while, it just seems fairly straightforward.
It's a very similar feeling to Michael Beale in it.
Yeah, it does, and I'm intrigued to see what happens. I think, unless I do think Celtic will sign maybe one or two before the end of the window. I think Rangers will still add with the news we heard tonight, but I think Rangers will be fairly positive with their business and the kind of look on. But we'll move into kind of transfer news because we've obviously got a very interesting week coming up, obviously, with the end of the transfer window. Scott, we'll start with outgoings. Yilmaz, Ridvan Yilmaz, I think we would have thought could potentially be heading out the door. You'll know where I'm going to go here, and I'm not going to hide it. If it's up to me, Ridvan stays. You bring in this boy from Apoel, and Barisic, get something for him and get him out the door, because I do think Yilmaz is kicking on a bit. Whether it is playing for a move, I don't know, but I would be fairly happy if Yilmaz stays, bring in the Brazilian, and that could be a kind of look towards the summer.
Yeah, definitely. If we can get anything for Barisic right now, I would take it, because I'd take pennies from now rather than get nothing from in the summer when it comes to him. I mean, I've said it before, I'm far from Barisic's biggest fan. I would have sold him 2 years ago if we had the opportunity to. But right now, I'm now and bring in this Brazilian left back that we're talking about, and have him and Yilmaz as our two fallback options till now for the end of the season, then I'd be more than happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And a bit of interesting news came out on Saturday night, Scott. Well, was the potential departure of Jose Cifuentes. There is talk that he is set to head to Turkey to join Rizespor on a loan with an option to buy. About 2.5 million, but what we're hearing will be a slight profit. Regards to Cifuentes, Scotty, I think I'm very much of the opinion. I think there's a player there. I just don't think he's settled in terms of the climate. I don't think the kind of early stages of trying to fit him in a system that was already broken helped under Bill. I do think the next 2 or 3 years that we'll probably be looking at Cifuentes as maybe a good, decent player, but I just don't think it was going to work for him at Rangers. I think I've kind of come to that conclusion. And this was somebody who was very excited by him.
Oh, 100%. I was guilty of believing it when Michael Beale says that he was going to take us to the next level. I believed it just by what I'd seen of the boy and the fact that Brighton and stuff had looked at him. But then on the other side of the coin, Brighton never bought him. We did. So it's circumstances. It's purely circumstances. The boy's not winning matches. He's been played out of position under Beale. He's had bad injuries. He's struggled to settle. He had that cryptic Instagram message last week, whether that was in relation to something personal or something professional, who knows? But the fact that we've identified that he's not really a player that we can use moving forward. We could be doing with the money elsewhere, and we've now moved him on. It's good business by the club on, and I don't think it's going to be one that comes back and we're going to wish in 2-3 years, or we wish we'd kept him. Kind of similar to Lammers. Lammers is having a really, really good. He's had a good couple of matches for Utrecht. Well, so they think, but they're really appreciating Lammers, and I'm happy to see that because these boys have come in and it's just not worked out for them. So fair enough, but club's done well to move them out.
Yeah, Scott, I think that's interesting because we look at Rangers and we look at the mentality of the club and things like that, but you're coming from California, right? One of the warmest places in the world, one of the most exotic places in the world. And you're heading to Glasgow where it's raining constantly, different to what you've ever known in your life. And Scott Young, I think Cifuentes is another example. I think a place like Turkey, I think that will suit him, but I just don't think Rangers did.
Yeah, I was reading it. There was a list of things that he didn't settle with the climate, didn't settle with City. He thought he didn't like. Don't know, he didn't like Clement. He just thought it very, very different to Beale in terms of the style of management. Don't think he suited well to that. And if that's the case, then if we can get with it, I think it's a 2 million option of buyer obligation.
It's an obligation.
It's an obligation, yeah. Well, we paid 1.5 million for him, so we've made a profit on a boy in 6 months after a handful of games, and in those handful of games he didn't light the world. He didn't set the world alight. So, like, it's good business. Just if he doesn't like it here, get rid of him now, get a bit of money for him, and then hopefully put that to some more players who will adapt better here.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. And Scotty, McKay, let's look at the potential incomings now. We did hear a rumour going about towards the end of last week that the left back situation could potentially be getting resolved in one way or another. The boy Jefte coming in from Applewell. Now, this is a bit more complicated than I think any deal will be because he's on loan at Applewell from Fluminense, I believe. And for any deal to happen in this window, it would need to be because Applewell would need to cancel the loan. I think they've got first right to buy. I think it's something like 500 grand. I think this will go all the way, but I've been looking at reports on Jefte. He's 20-year-old. He likes to get forward. And again, it just on paper makes a lot of sense in that South American market that Rangers are going to look to go into again, I believe. It just seems there for the taking.
Aye, definitely. He seems quite a prospect going forward. I'm not so sure about his defending, how he's going to adapt to physicality of the league. I think that's probably my biggest concern about signing somebody for South America. But aye, it's the right market we're shopping in, but my biggest concern with Diamonde, seeing the boy for loans that we're linked with tonight, and then Jefte, if that's how you can pronounce it. It's not. I don't know. I'm getting vibes of Pedro Caixinha bringing in Carlos Pena, Pereira, Dalcio. I've had all these nightmares as a Rangers fan in the past. Paul Le Guen tried it with Libor Sionco, Carol Svensson, tried to short markets last on Earth James, and it's backfired on us. So I'm a wee bit weary about it. I'm excited as well, don't get me wrong. I think if there's a way to go, this is the way we need to go. But I think we need to balance it out with players that we know can come in and do a job. Ultimately.
Scott Young, I think that there is that kind of interesting dynamic now. Like Jefte, we've never heard of him. Let's be honest, I'd never heard of him until I first heard his name. I'd never heard of the boy that's coming in, meant to be coming in from Lawns. And these are very different. Where probably a year ago, they're players that if they've not been linked already, we've heard of them because they were good at one point and they've lost their way or they've been injured. And it's a different look, and I'm quite excited by it. And I understand there are risks, as Scotty rightly says, because we've been doing this road before. I mean, Dalcio, we'd never heard of him. We thought he was going to be amazing. Turned out to be not the answer. But you do have to take the rough with the smooth. And I am someone of the belief that you have to look at different ways. If I think Niels Coppen has to have looked at the recruitment system over the past 3 or 4 years and said, that way you're doing that is stinking. Let's move on. Let's do something different. This to me is different. It seems to be getting the kind of right profile in, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, something needed to change because signing a bunch of old Englishmen who always get injured for the championship, it just never ended well. And Cantwell, Judy's firmly still out when it comes to him. So obviously Ben Davies hasn't worked out, plus like that. I think going into these markets, getting gems for low money, selling them for a lot of money is the way forward. It's the way that let's be brutally honest. So Celtic have done it, and they've sold. Even they turned in £25 million for Matt O'Reilly recently. Sold Jota. It's what we need to do if we want to be cut. We heard Ross Wilson speak about this transfer model that we sold 3 players from for an okay amount of money. We had Bassey, Patson, and Rebo, but apart from that, Morelos went a free, Kent went a free. Players like that, players with high value were let go. Barisic might be another one who was linked with £20 million move to Spurs a couple of years ago, or letting go for nothing now, or pennies if he doesn't sign a new deal. So Clement wasn't happy about it, obviously, and hopefully this is the way we're going.
Yeah, I think that's the way we need to go. Can a final point, Scotty, before we wrap up, in terms of what we need to see now? Oscar Cortes, there's talk just before we come on here, it seemed as if it was a goer. There's talk now that it might just be rumours. There's nothing really close compared to what we heard maybe a couple of hours ago. So I think this is one to definitely keep an eye on. I think in terms of a winger, a left back, if the deals get done, it's full ahead to get a number 9 in. I know the type of number 9 you want. I do think that's the only position now. I think get a number 9 in, get a clinical goal scorer. I don't think Dessers is going to do it all over the course of a season. I think it's a good option to have. But Rangers need a number 9. And I think that's the only missing link now if they get these Jefte and Cortes.
Aye, definitely. The number 9 needs to be right, though. The number 9 needs to come in, be able to hit the ground running, know where back in it is. I'm not really bothered about anything else in terms of actually, as long as he can finish a chance in the box. Or chance conversion rate as a team isn't the best. My concern about bringing somebody in foreign wise would be it's took Dessers 3, 4, 5 months to show us what he can do. That's why I've been such a fan of Shankland. Is because we know that we can score goals in the league. Basically, that's all I'm wanting this signing today. But we need somebody. We need to go and sign a striker because we're far too light up top. Danilo is out in April. Only really Dessers. Silva isn't an out-and-out number 9, as we've spoken about already. So we need to go out and sign somebody that's a prolific front man, basically. Whether that's we dip into the Scandinavian market for the likes of Alexander Lind, that's not one I would probably be a fan of. I think that boy has had a good start to the season, then tailored off, so we would need him to come in and bring his start of season form with him. I don't think that would be a decent enough option, because we need somebody that can come in and score goals now. So the forward, the striker, is the most important signing for me, Scott.
Yeah, Scott Young, I would go along with that. I think it's the only position for me now that I think is really, really light. I don't know if I don't think Shankland will happen, but I think somebody of that ilk in terms of being a goal scorer, somebody who can finish chances, can link well with the wingers, which I think is going to be important because it's clearly a position that Clermont is looking to address. And I think a 10-goal striker between now and the end of the season could win you the title.
Yeah, definitely. I think at the start of the window, I wanted a left back, a midfielder, a winger, and a centre forward. That was my short list. And by the looks of things, we've got 3 out of 4. I think Heart and Hand have basically just said this right winger's a goer, and it could be done in the next 24, 48 hours. So that's good to hear that someone from inside the club saying that it's a goer. So you get him and get Hefty in, and then hopefully get a centre forward in. And then I don't think, which seems to be a thing that people have said for ages, board need to back the manager. We need X, Y, and Z. No one can complain that the manager hasn't been back this window with positions that he wanted and players that obviously he's had a look at and said, yeah, I want them. So it's down to club on if we get that the squad's desperately needed.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting, and we're going to be kind of running quite quick in terms of the news between now and the end of the window. We're going to do a live special on Thursday night where we're going to look at the transfer deadline day. We'll be joined by various fans from various clubs, so stay tuned for that. And we're going to be basically any news between now and the end of the window, we're going to be all over it. We've got kind of no games this week, so this week in terms of midweek, so it's full ahead looking to transfers, and it's going to be a busy week on the channel. So I want to thank my guests for coming on to this week's episode. First of all, Scott Young.
Yeah, cheers for having us on. Really enjoyed plotting Rangers for once in a while.
Pleasure. And to Scott McKay, mate, thank you very much again.
Thanks for having me on again, Scott.
Brilliant. Thank you very much to everyone who's tuned in, folks, and subscribe to our Patreon for more Rangers content. Thank you.